great. Hot damn, I'm 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 great.
Lerrone Richards, 31 years of age. Super middleweight southpaw. He was 12-0 when he outpointed Lennox Clark, November 2019, on a Queensberry card. Split decision. He heads over to Matchroom, free fight deal. 2 fights, 1 fight in 2020, a gimme opponent on the undercard of Billy Joe Saunders, who we may have had some alliance to. I don't know if Billy was managing him or just trying to help get Lerrone a foot in the door. He was on the undercard of Billy Joe Saunders versus Martin Murray at Wembley Arena. 2021, 2 fights, the second of which he outpoints Carlos Gongora, which is a very good win. Gongora was unbeaten at the time. That was on the undercard of Parker versus Chisora, the rematch. From what it says here, he was a little frustrated that Matchroom didn't get him a fight quicker after outpointing Gongora. But they get him a slot on the undercard of Canelo versus Triple G, the third fight. That would have been in September 2022. Now, from what I hear, he didn't want to fight Ali Akhmedov because he had already beaten Gongora, who beat Akhmedov. But Akhmedov was still ranked, affiliated with Triple G, an all-action fighter. And he declined the opportunity of fighting on that card.
You're making a mistake.
The deal with Matchroom is not extended. He heads over to Boxer/Sky. Supposed to fight Zach Chelly, November 2022. Lerrone faints in his hotel room, passes out temporarily. Obviously, the fight is cancelled. So we go into 2023, parts ways with Boxer, and now he's on the small hall circuit. Then, late 2023, he signs with the Sauerlands, Wasserman. So far, he's went through Queensberry, Matchroom, Sky, without having a fight on Sky. Now he's on Wasserman. On the 14th of June, Friday gone, he's on another Wasserman card, on the YouTube portion of the event. If you're going to lose your unbeaten record, lose it to Ali Akhmedov, a ranked fighter, on a Canelo undercard, rather than on the YouTube portion of a show. Unfortunately for Lerrone, a skilled southpaw, he was stopped in 6 by Steed Goodall, a British super middleweight, 19-2-1, with 12 inside the distance. He caught Lerrone with a right hand, followed up, put Lerrone on the canvas, and the referee could have stopped it a little prematurely. That could be argued, but Lerrone's bell was rung. I didn't even know this card was on. I came by it on YouTube and I said, oh, just in time for Lerrone Richards. I said, okay, this should be interesting. Let's watch Lerrone. And before the punch and the conclusion came, I was thinking, yo, look where you are. Look where you're boxing. You're boxing on the YouTube portion, on the undercard of a relatively obscure European champion, ABBAS BAROU. Although he's highly ranked now after 2 good wins on 2 Wasserman cards this year, winning the vacant title against Sam Eggington, and then outpointing this Joe Gallagher-trained fighter, is it McGowan? Friday gone. He's ranked number 2 by the WBA, just behind Virgil Ortiz. He's based in Germany, 16-1, 9 stoppages, not a big puncher, but he wouldn't have turned down that opportunity to fight on a Canelo Triple G card. He wouldn't have turned it down. He's fought in England, he's fought in Germany. He'll fight wherever the payday, wherever the opportunity is. And Steve Goodall, who beat Lerrone, he's pretty much the same. He's had a lot of fights in America is what I found out. He's had to fit work around being a scaffolder. He had to create his own business so he could continue boxing and make it financially feasible. I have a feeling when Lerrone left Queensberry after outpointing Lennox Clark in a split decision, a very tough fight, Lennox Clark was 19-0 with 1 draw. I haven't got the receipt. I'm just theorizing that Lennox probably thought that Frank had to move heaven and earth for him after that win, because it was a good win. Just like he thought Eddie had to move heaven and earth for him after he beat Gongora. But what are the facts? Yeah, Gongora was world class. But you don't have the fan base, Lerrone. You don't have the fan base, and Lerrone is a safety-first fighter. And boxers these days, they don't know boxing history. So they're not grounded on what's realistic and what's not realistic.
Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic.
Lennox Lewis had his struggles getting hold of them belts in America. Getting a fight against Riddick Bowe, then trying to get Holyfield and Tyson in the ring. They made it very difficult. And you don't need a history lesson to know that some of the greats never got a title shot at all. Some waited years, 10, 15 years to get a shot. But look, I don't want to go too hard at Lerrone. He made some mistakes, he did. But he's a nice kid. I don't want to go too hard at him. I know a lot of people thought, man, beats are going to get stuck into Lerrone. I have to bear in mind that he fainted before the Zach Chelli fight. Is there a medical issue there that's not resolved? I don't know. I do know if he leaves Wasserman, he's been through Boxer, Matchroom, and Queensbury. Where's there to go? Where's there to go after that? We'll see. You know, if you go through all 4 major promotions in the UK, all I can say is you have to look at yourself for why things may not be happening. You got to look at yourself.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
On the main event of the card where Lerrone lost to Steve Woodall, Abbas Barou defended his European 154-pound title for the first time against Macaulay McGowan. McGowan, trained by Joe Gallagher, gave a gallant effort, gave up his height too much. Typical, no, I don't want to say typical, but a lot of Gallagher's fighters just come up a little too short from transitioning from defense to attack. I don't know if McCauley's nose was broken. It looked like he wanted to jack it in a couple of times, but he pluckily stuck in there, went the distance, was thoroughly beaten. Blood splattered all around his face. And Barou, not a huge puncher, but he just had the better timing and the better punch selection and won a comfortable decision. Although he took a few shots himself, but he was never in any serious trouble or anything like that. It was a pretty good fight to watch.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Roy, let me ask you a question about some of the boxers we've got over here now. Have you heard of Ben Whitaker?
And I love what I see Ben Whitaker doing. Just got to tone it down maybe just a little bit, because sometimes you can make people hate you by doing a little bit too much showboating. So like for me, I understood when to do it and when not to do it. I love it because it's a beautiful thing to see, because we don't get entertainment in boxing no more. You understand me? So to do it is great, but you got to be careful, because it's a thin line between love and hate when you do the showboat. But I love it because I love watching him do it. I love the fact that he's got the heart and the nerve to even go out there and try that. And he don't care who he fight. He do the same thing with everybody, and that's a beautiful thing.
So Roy's saying he shouldn't stop it. He should tone it down. Roy broke down when he would showboat. Like if he had you beaten, he'd showboat. He didn't showboat against Bernard Hopkins in the first fight because Hopkins wasn't who he was today. Yeah? So he said it's no sense showboating on somebody who's not that highly regarded. That was for the IBF title back in the day. IBF 160-pound title. But against James Toney, who Roy said was pound for pound number 1 at the time, Roy showboated, floored Toney. Toney was more off balance, but it was a legit knockdown. And that's arguably Roy's best win to date. He won on points. I don't talk about the showboating with Ben Whitaker because he's still undefeated. 8-0, 5 inside the distance. His last 2 have went the distance. So, okay, let's talk about this EZRA Areyenka, who Ben outpointed, watched him on the scorecards. He was 12-0 going into this Areyenka. Made a big deal about getting the fight, intruded on the press conference, which he had no part of, got the fight, came to find out that he has no skills, no real idea how to box at this level, and looked woefully out of his depth. Apart from being physically strong, had nothing to offer. He achieved his objectives. He got the fight that he was so desperate to get. But that's as far as it goes. He was talking about being a champion one day. That's not going to happen. The headbutt move after the 6th round ended. Yeah, Ben was goading him, taunting him, and after the bell, he followed EZRA to his corner and was talking to him, and EZRA headbutted him. Here's the thing, yeah? EZRA knew he was in there with a showboater. He knew that beforehand. He asked for this fight. So how then are you going to headbutt the guy knowing that this is what he brought to the table? He should have been disqualified. He was allowed to carry on. And there might be a retroactive action of disciplinary. And there should be. And there should be. Now, I'm not going to go on my soapbox because I had a lot to say about what he did. About how he got the fight and about headbutting Ben Whitaker. But I'm not going to say what I've got to say. I'll leave it for now. But no, I don't like the headbutt. I really don't like the headbutt. He's got a lot away with a lot of shit. Get in the fight and got no skills of any form. Headbutting Whitaker. Not being reprimanded. woeful fight to watch. Some are going to say because Whitaker can't punch, and yeah, he doesn't sit down on his shots. But this guy was woeful for someone with such a big mouth. Yeah, like I said, I'll let the showboating thing marinate, but one thing does come to mind. A lot of people's observations. If you're going to do that style, you've got to be able to put people on the floor. And judging by his last two, this kid's not a banger. His last opponent before EZRA, Leon Willing, who's a Central Area champion, he took him the distance. And let me just say this, man. Leon Willing would make this guy, EZRA, who thinks so much of himself, look like an amateur as well. He'd beat him. He'd beat him, no trouble. EZRA would struggle to win a Central Area title over here. But yeah, Ben stepped up, Central Area level. No stoppage against this guy here, who was tough. EZRA was tough, he was strong. He's not a banger. Could that change? We'll see. Here's why he shouldn't have took the fight, which I'm just going to say, a lot of the youngins, they just don't understand the logic on certain things. This fight was more of a deal than what it should have been. 8-9 fights in, Ben Whitaker's fights should be low-key affairs. And if he's able to shine and get stoppages, you need to keep him active, fighting frequently until it's time to go that next level. But now, because, like the headbutt incident, the guy baiting Ben, and Ben saying, yeah, he's got to fight the guy, couldn't get him out early. A lot of the critics are now saying, yeah, we need to move him up, we need to step Ben up and see what he's got, because they're growing impatient. The matchmaking process is important. If the fighter doesn't respect the matchmaking process in modern day boxing, and let's not get it twisted, the matchmakers, the management, the promoter, the trainer, they can get it wrong. But you need to know, if you're paying someone to do something out of your purses, and then you start doing the job yourself, well, what sense does it make? What happened to fighters at Whitaker stage just saying, well, I just fight whoever they put in front of me? Go talk to Ben. Let Ben do his job. Go talk to Ben about the opponents. Ben will explain and answer you if you're dissatisfied with the product. This is not a sprint race. You got to be patient. Yeah, so what? He interrupted the press conference, running his mouth. So what? What next? He's going to get frustrated because he's not getting guys out of there? You got to develop your craft. And don't get it twisted, there will come a stage for any prospect where they're not going to nurse you no more. Like Campbell Hatton, they forced him into a Central Area title fight. And he lost. But with 8 fights, Ben Whitaker's a few fights away from any of that. While you have the privilege of not having to think about championship eliminators or champion deadlines, mandatories, etc., take advantage of that and develop your craft. He came out saying he's going to win the British title within how many fights? 6 or 7 or a ridiculous amount of fights. At light heavy, this ain't flyweight where that is perhaps feasible. This is light heavy. It's Ben's career. If he wants to put pressure on himself, he should do so. He's a grown man. That's what he should do. So Roy Jones, one of the best light heavyweights ever. Let's take what he said about when he showboated. Roy said he would showboat against the likes of James Toney, pound for pound #1 in the sport, because it would have more meaning when he did so. Bernard Hopkins wasn't a known guy at the time. I believe it was for the vacant IBF 160-pound title. So Whitaker wanted to teach this guy who invaded the press conference that you can't do that. I'm going to style on you and embarrass you. But what is EZRA Areyenka not? He's not a big name. So okay, Ben went in there, dropped his hands, used his reflexes, made EZRA miss by miles. He taunted him. But Sunday morning, who really cares that you did that against EZRA Areyenka? Didn't come close to getting a knockdown. The guy didn't have a mark on his face after. Ben won the fight, easy. But you could argue EZRA won as well by getting the fight. And more than likely getting another domestic level fighter in the UK on the strength that he went the distance with Ben Whitaker. All Ben's done is up the ante on the media who don't like the showboating, who don't think he's that good, to step up. Hopefully Ben's up for the challenge.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes. Boxing. Beats and rhymes.
I believe Commonwealth and European was on the line. Vacant European. Isaac went in there as Commonwealth champion. The way Isaac Chamberlain fights, and that style of box punching he does, an American coach would have got more out of Isaac. I'm not saying his career is over. He's only 30. But his style, the way he hooks and puts combinations together, would have been better suited to American coaching than British coaching. This was a really good fight, and I told everybody to look out for this fight. I noticed they had Ben Whitaker's fight as chief support. Over this? Are they crazy?
Crazy.
Jack Massey fought a very good fight. And I knew this would be a very good fight. Massey worked everything off the jab. Isaac threw the harder punches, which didn't shock me, but I was surprised. Isaac hurt him several times. But Jack rolled out the bad patches. Always started his combinations with his jab. And when it was getting in close quarters, he would try and push Isaac off and not get drawn in to that scrap. And he done a good job of that. Early on, the middle patches where Isaac came back into it, mid to late, not forgetting his fundamentals. He held it together and got a UD. A deserved UD. Good win. Isaac's coach told him to slip Massey's jab and hook to the body. Isaac did it for a little while, but he strayed off the game plan. And when his eyes started to swell, his defense went to pieces a little. Showed an extraordinary chin. Either that or Massey doesn't hit that hard. So a Joe Gallagher fighter did get the right balance on this one. Well done, Jack Massey.
Boxing. Beats and rhyme. Boxing. Beats and rhyme.
Let me be honest. Richard Riakporhe looked like a cruiserweight version of Frank Bruno without the consistent jab and the concussive power. Somewhere in Richard's career, someone's told him that all you've got to do is blow on people and they'll hit the canvas. And Richard's bought into it. Richard went in there looking for a one-punch knockout. I was alarmed that either he or Angel Hernandez brought nothing more to the table than just trying to land a big right hand. The amount of holding Richard did, the lack of variety in his attacks, the frequent leading with his head, which led to him losing a point in the 12th, made no difference on the scorecards. Richard was telegraphing that right hand, trying to put way too much power in it. There was just no flow to his work at all. None at all. None at all. And Billiam Smith, 3 wins on the bounce. Lawrence Okoli, Masternak, and now Richard Riakporhe has cleaned up the UK. WBO champion, 2 defences. Big up him. And Shane McGuigan. Chris outworked Richard. He had the faster hands. He had to eat some of them right hands. Big shots. But he took them. Took what he had to take. But for the most part, without being Willie Pep, he was able to slip and ride that shot. Because he knew what was coming. Didn't give Richard any room to breathe. Stepped to the left to cut him off. And Richard ended up just clinching and holding. Way too much. And actually looks like he may have regressed from their first fight in 2019. A lot of us thought Richard made improvements since he switched over from Matchroom to boxer. But have the opponents just been carefully selected? And now he's in a sanctioned title fight. Reality is coming to the surface. Aesthetically, he looked the part. Like he was chiseled from marble. But even the gas tank is really bad. Shockingly bad. He has no confidence in his gas tank. I've seen the modelling pictures, hanging with Madonna, maybe the superstar life outside the rigors of the training camp were too much for Richard to ignore. And he hasn't really been putting the grind in. Because I really don't know what to say about the performance. It was a terrible fight to look at. And it wasn't because of Billiam Smith. It was because of Richard. I don't know what the betting odds were. Most people fancied Richard to win this. It was a Selhurst Park, South London, hometown advantage for Richard. He won their first fight in 2019. Billiam Smith looked awfully open against Masternak last time out. But Masternak's boxing in the first 6 rounds made him look like Sugar Ray Leonard compared to Richard. At times there wasn't a lot of clean punches landed, but Billiam took what was there. If it was to the body, cool. He threw uppercuts, threw all types of punches, while Richard popped out a jab here and there, threw a few wild speculative right hands. And, what more can I say? What more can I say? I think a lot of people were disappointed with Richard's performance, expected a lot more from him, and he didn't deliver. But you got to give full credit to Billiam Smith. You got to give full credit to him. He turned up with the game plan, and he's been laughing in the face of the odds very often in his career. And hopefully, September the 21st, hopefully we'll get that Jai Upper Billiam Smith fight at Wembley. Unification. That's what we want to see. After watching Jai struggle with Bradis on June the 1st, I think a lot of people are looking at that fight a little different now. I think before June the 1st, A lot of people would forecast an easy and early Jai blowout, but with Shane and Billy Smith gelling very well, it looks like a real fight. It looks like a real fight, that one. That's the hottest cruiserweight match right now. Jai Opetaia and Chris Billiam Smith. And with that,
I'm gone, ghost, peace, sayonara.